Hey, this is Stacia, and I wanted to share this game I've been wanting to for a long time. It's called The Tale of Seven Sacrifices, and this was played by yours truly. It's the craziest game I've ever played and the most I've ever sacrificed in one game. And I actually win the game. So I feel like this is probably my most brilliant game, although there are some, there's definitely mistakes, but anyway, I hope that you enjoy it. Let's have a look at it. So this was a Smith-Morra gambit. So e4, c5, d4, take, c3. Technically, this could be the first sacrifice because I am sacrificing a pawn. D takes, knight takes, but we're not even going to count it. We don't even need that sacrifice. We're only going to count piece sacrifices. Knight f3, e6, bishop c4, and a6. Okay. Now this move looks weird, but it is the correct move in theory because it stops knight b5 stuff getting into these dark squares over here, and it also prepares b5, and black does need to develop with tempo if possible. So a6 is actually a good move. Castles b5 by my opponent and bishop to b3. Now, funnily enough, I realize now that this is the same position I got on this past Tuesday. So this game is from March 2023, but I had this same exact position on my board just last week. Which is probably what made me think about it. All right, so in this game he plays bishop b7. In the game last week, my opponent played a different move here. They actually played knight g to e7. I pinned it. He went f6. I went bishop b3. He went knight g6. And I went knight d5. Kind of like this game. And in that game, he did take, and I played queen takes because that looks annoying. Knight's also pinned, and rooks are coming in. I felt like I have compensation here. Turns out I was correct. But I go on to blunder like 2 moves later and just lose in a very embarrassing fashion. So this game, though, however, my opponent played bishop to b7. Okay, so I thought about it a while, and boom, knight to d5. This is our first sacrifice. Now, is this sound? I'm going to ask the engine. It's actually not sound in this position. Wow. Wow, that's interesting. I'll check the opening book as well. Ooh, yeah, the move that Calvin Blocker told me about is what is better here. Queen e2. I think he also mentioned rook e1. He did. Those are the 2 top moves. So queen e2 or rook e1 are a better way to go. But I put knight d5. Now, I was thinking, I could be winning here because if he takes the knight, which he did not, by the way, I really am much better after pawn takes because in this position, the e-file is open, rook e1 is going to come, and they really need to play d6, to stop me from playing d6, which would take control of e7, open up my bishop as well. And you can just see there's all kinds of trouble. But unfortunately, the knight is attacked, so they would have to move it. I mean, if you do something like this, yeah, this is too good. Okay, if they want to move their knight again, rook e1 check. We're still controlling this. And yeah, basically white is winning here. So he didn't take the piece in the game, which he shouldn't take it. And so instead he played knight g to e7. Now, I need the engine's help, but the way to refute my sacrifice, wow, there's a bunch of ways, actually. I was scared of knight a5 in the game, and knight a5 is a little better for black. It says I should go bishop g5 here, which I wouldn't really think about. And if f6, I go knight to e5. What? This engine's insane. Okay, now it says equal. There must be some sort of weird perpetual check. Because, what is this? I have no idea. Let's just say they take our bishop. Well, now white's winning because we have check. Yeah, I can see now this works because g6 is not going to be any good, right? We simply take that. If they take back, we're going to win that rook. Oh, actually better than that is checkmate. Checkmate looks good. Let's do that. So they can't even take that, which means discoveries, and there's no knight f6 to counter this. So, like, I don't know what they do here. Probably best is to take the knight or something. But, boom, we can take that rook with discover check. And that's going to be completely winning for us. So, okay, I learned something. Of course, we want to try to learn what we can. In the game, yeah, oh, and not only could he play knight e5, but the engine gives bishop d6 as the top move, which I find fascinating. Wow, you know what? That is a really creative way to stop that line I gave, right? Because, okay, let's just say I go h3, right? Then they take my knight. I'm attacking the knight. This time I can't play d6 because there's a stupid bishop there. That is funny. And if I take with the queen, attacking that bishop, they can play queen e7. Now they're protecting it, and, you know, they're just up a piece. They are up a piece, and here comes knight of 6. Wow, that is pretty fascinating. Very fascinating. Okay, so let's go back. So it's really good for me as a Smith-Morra player. I always want to review the lines that refute any sacrifice that I thought was good during a tournament game, because that means I sat there and calculated and really tried to figure out if it was good, and I was like, yeah, it's good. So if there's lines that, if there's defenses for black, I need to know those. That way, next time I calculate, I might have some new ideas to look at. I've kind of thought of calculation during games to be like, have 3 different parts, by the way. To be part pattern recognition, part knowing what to calculate, and then finally the actual calculation. If you don't know what ideas to calculate, then you won't look at them, right? So to me, that is an essential part. And of course, you're going to need pattern recognition. Because if you calculate 3 or 4 moves down, you don't recognize a pattern, then the calculation was pointless. So anyway, let's continue though. So knight d5, sacrifice number 1. He goes knight g to e7, refusing my sacrifice. How rude. So I played bishop g5. Looked like he wanted to take my knight with a knight. I was like, no, I insist. Take with a pawn. I insist. And he played f6. So we'll count that as sacrifice number 2 because I'm still offering the knight. So he plays f6. I did look at this during the game. And here I played bishop h4. Now, sadly, this move was a bit of a mistake because now there's knight to g6, attacking that bishop. And if I just, well, what can I do now? I know why this isn't good now, because I would like to play bishop e3. I would like to do that and get into these dark squares over here. Now the bishop's just sort of misplaced. So it doesn't make much sense. Also, it's about to get captured, possibly. So, all right. I guess bishop g3 could be a thing, but then maybe just e5, shutting in that bishop. I'm still skeptical, but I think it might be okay. All right, let's continue with the game. Sorry about the delay on that. Bishop h4 and knight to e5. So he refuses my sacrifice again. So what would have happened if he took it here? Well, if he takes, again, I would take with a pawn, and I'm threatening d6. So this whole thing is still bad. If knight a5, for example, d6. If he wants to take my bishop, that's totally fine with me. I will take with the queen. Now, if he tries to save his bishop, or his knight, rather, let's say a move like this, I will check. And as you can see, I'm going to get the material back and just have a better position. Pawns like this one on d6, they're said to cut the board in half because they make it very difficult for black to develop And also just, I mean, you can see it looks horrible, right? Like having control of that square is pretty messed up. So let's go back now. So sacrifice number 1, I play here, offering it again, that's number 2. And I play here, offering it again, that's number 3. But he played knight e5. So I'm just basically offering the same piece every move so far. Not as flashy as I thought it was. But okay, it's still fun, right? I'm offering this piece over and over again. I was calculating like crazy. So after knight to e5, okay, I take this. And I'm still offering this knight, but of course they got to take something back. So he does take. He takes here. So what should I do? I should probably move my knight, right? No. Pawn takes pawn, offering this knight as a sacrifice. So you gotta love it, right? So this is sacrifice number 4, and my opponent doesn't take it. He plays d6. Okay, if he takes it, what is the idea here? Well, my idea was queen h5, right? And if g6, I thought something like queen takes e5 looks pretty good, because like this is pinned, I'm on the rook, I'm threatening d6, like this is pinned. I mean, this is terrible, right? If this isn't winning, then I don't know what is. Now the rooks are coming into, and sure enough, the engine says +6. Okay, so that's good. So they can't really do that. And if they go knight g6, I mean, that's the other way to try and defend. Well, that's going to lose the queen, right? So you can't do that. So, all right. So sacrifice number 4 is sound. Most of my sacrifices are in this game. So I take with the pawn. He doesn't take the knight. He plays d6. Now my knight's attacked by 2 things. Oh no. What will I do? I should move my knight. Nope. Bishop takes f6. Sacrifice number 5. Let's go. Yeah. So instead of moving my piece, I use Tall's principle, which is if I have 1 piece hanging, you can take it. But if I have 2 or 3 pieces hanging, you can still only take 1. So that was the principle I followed. So bishop takes f6. That's not a real principle, you guys. All right. So after some truth to it, I guess. So he takes my knight. Okay. Which I guess is fine. And here was the idea. d6. Right, d6. Now I'm sacking my bishop. I mean, sort of. I'm counterattacking. We'll call this, is this a sack? Yeah, it is. I called it a sacrifice, number 6. Offering the bishop. So if he takes the bishop, okay, then I take here. I did calculate this, which is funny, because after like queen takes queen, I can play this. Take with check. And then, I don't know, let's say they take back. Now I can take back the queen. And I thought this also looked pretty good. And the engine barely agrees. I guess, you know, does black have a lot of pawns? Let's see. I don't know, the material looks evenish, right? Yeah, it is even. It is even. And I thought I'm more active here, so this is good. So it was sound. Maybe not the best, but sound. All right, but he didn't take the bishop in the game. Oh wait. He did take the bishop in the game. So I played d takes e7. And instead of taking my queen and going into what I was talking about, he played bishop takes e7. Okay. So now I go queen h5, king d7. Let's check, of course. And my opponent had an interesting idea, but unfortunately for him, I saw all of this in advance. He blocks with the bishop. So what do? Queen f7 check. Now he can block with the queen, and I saw all this. And it's time for sacrifice number 7. Following my rule, always sack the exchange. Rook takes d6. Yeah, check. And that queen is pinned. It can't take. And my opponent just resigned here, which was really nice. But yeah, because basically if you take it, here comes the other rook. You can no longer protect your queen. That's going to be game over. So he saw that, and that was kind of it. Yeah, and there was really no way out of this. If I go back and check with the computer, which I want to. Yep, it says queen h5. It actually gives rook ac1 as well. I guess just blocking the king in, just cutting off the king. That's just mean. I'm not that mean. Check here, check. I mean, his moves are kind of forced, right? And then finally the winning move, rook takes d6. So that was the tale of 7 sacrifices. I hope you enjoyed this game. You know, I'm pretty happy with the player I've become. And, you know, I sacrifice almost every game. I sacked a pawn and a rook in game 1 last Tuesday. Then I sacked a knight in game 2 and a bishop, but that was a blunder. And in game 3, I probably sacked something as well. Oh, I definitely sacked a pawn. Yeah, so I don't know. I think that playing this way is only going to serve me in the future if I do choose to play more solid at some point, which inevitably I will. But for now, I'm going to enjoy the interesting chess. Have a good one, and see you next time.